At 78 years old, Sally Field has nothing left to prove, nor does she worry about who likes her and who doesn't. With 2 Oscars, a career filled with unforgettable roles, and the public's love, her legacy is more than secure. However, behind the applause and the beloved characters, there is a Sally that few people know, one who holds on to every betrayal, every slight, every colleague who crossed the line. Today, with the maturity that comes with age, Sally Field has decided to speak frankly, and she reveals the names of 6 actors with whom she had the most difficult experiences of her career. These weren't just simple misunderstandings or fleeting tensions. They were deep clashes, intense moments. Some lived on set, others away from the cameras, but all with a lasting impact. If you thought you knew Hollywood, this list might change your perspective. The heartthrob Bert Reynolds. Their relationship was a media phenomenon. Sally Field and Bert Reynolds were one of the most popular couples of the late 70s. On screen, their chemistry was magnetic, sparkling, full of charm. Smokey and the Bandit became a massive success, partly due to their apparent camaraderie. But behind the scenes, the story was different. Sally described Bert as a dominant man, used to controlling and overshadowing those around him, even her. He made her feel inferior, criticized her appearance, doubted her talent, and treated her with a disdain masked as ambiguous compliments. In interviews, he would praise her with a smile, only to belittle her in private. In her autobiography, In Pieces, Sally spoke candidly. Bert wouldn't let her express herself freely, interrupted her opinions, and made decisions for her both professionally and personally. She felt like a trophy, not a partner. He played with her emotions, being affectionate one moment, distant the next. Over time, her self-esteem began to erode. "I never felt fully seen," she confessed. "I was there, but not me, not the real me." Despite the time they spent together, Sally admitted that she never truly knew who the real Bert was. The charming man everyone admired was not the same one who came home. She tried. She loved him, but he hurt her. To the world, he was the bandit. To Sally, he was an emotional wound, and that was just the beginning. The egoist, Tommy Lee Jones. While shooting back roads, Sally arrived with enthusiasm. The script promised an intense human story. She hoped for a collaborative, enriching experience. But instead, she encountered a wall of indifference. Tommy Lee Jones. From day one, he was cold and distant, both professionally and personally. He barely acknowledged her during rehearsals. He didn't engage in conversation, share ideas, or show any interest in building a professional relationship. He came to set, said his lines, and left. No warmth, no respect, just silence. For an actress who had built her career on emotional authenticity, Jones's attitude was baffling. Not only did she have to portray a distant character, but she also had to act in front of a distant person. On-screen partners usually lean on each other, but he made her feel like a burden. Sally tried to break the ice. She started conversations between takes, suggested ideas, even made jokes, but he didn't respond. Sometimes he didn't even look at her. He acted like I didn't deserve to be there with him, she recalled. The critics tore the movie apart for the lack of chemistry between the leads. What the public didn't know was that the problem wasn't in the script, it was in the emotional atmosphere behind the scenes. We were supposed to show 2 broken people who found each other in love, but I was acting alone. Even though she remained professional until the end, the experience emotionally drained her. It wasn't just a cold shoot, it was a lonely experience. Sally never worked with him again, and while she never directly attacked him in public, her subsequent words reflected a coldness that spoke volumes. The scene stealer, Robert Blake. Not all of Sally's conflicts happened in silence. During the filming of Say Goodbye, Maggie Cole, she encountered one of the most unpredictable and explosive personalities she'd ever known, Robert Blake. Known for his extreme method acting and unpredictable mood swings, Blake didn't just bring intensity to his characters, he brought that instability into every corner of the set. From the beginning, Sally struggled to establish a steady dynamic. Blake would alter the dialogue without warning, improvise scenes without coordination, and ruin previously rehearsed takes with unpredictable behavior. What he considered overflowing creativity, Sally saw as total chaos. She felt like he was constantly sabotaging her, both in front of the camera and behind it. And it wasn't just with her. The technical crew also witnessed frequent outbursts, uncontrolled shouting, and sudden mood swings that turned the work environment into a tense, hostile place. One day he could be quiet and focused, and the next he'd be yelling at a lighting technician over a minor detail. Sally, who already had her hands full with a demanding role, ended up taking on the role of mediator to prevent the production from falling apart. But it was pointless. The tension seeped into every scene, and in the end, the project collapsed. The film was never released. It was shelved due to the chaos that reigned during the shoot. For many actors, that might have been just a professional setback. For Sally, it was more than that. She later described it as a deeply disturbing experience. "There are actors who act," she said, "and then there are actors who need to make others feel small to feel big." Blake, according to her, was one of the latter. Her words weren't just criticism, they were charged with lived experience. After Say Goodbye, Maggie Cole, Sally made a promise. She would never again tolerate chaos disguised as genius. The bitter rivalry, Shirley McLain. Not all the tension started on set, some arose during the award season. Such was the case with Shirley McLain. To the public, Steel Magnolias seemed like a dream collaboration. Two cinema icons sharing the screen in a story of love, loss, and strength. But behind the scenes, the relationship between Sally Field and Shirley was far from harmonious. Sally approached the project with deep emotional sensitivity, immersing herself completely in the pain of her character Malin, a mother dealing with tragedy. She wanted truth, nuance, vulnerability, but Shirley seemed to have a different agenda. According to some of their co-stars, Shirley treated every scene like a competition, constantly reminding everyone of her past accolades and dismissing the director's instructions. She interrupted takes, hijacked moments that weren't hers to take, and imposed her presence even when the scene required subtlety. Sally, ever the professional, kept her composure, hit her marks, and did her job. But privately, the toll was evident. One particularly emotional scene required 17 takes, not because Sally couldn't convey the pain, but because Shirley kept making sarcastic remarks that ruined the dramatic tone. It was as if mocking the emotion was part of her role. Years later, Sally spoke of the experience cautiously, saying that Shirley brought with her a cloud of chaos. It wasn't resentment, but clarity. It wasn't just a difference in style, it was a clash of egos. While Sally tried to honor the story, Shirley sought to control the attention. The impact of that experience left its mark. While the public cried over Malin's heartbreaking monologue, Sally knew the real pain happened off screen. The manipulator, James Woods. But the next name on her list didn't just wound her ego, it shattered her trust. During the filming of Kiss Me Goodbye, a quirky romantic comedy, Sally expected a light, charming experience. From the start, something felt off. That something was James Woods. Woods, known for his almost obsessive intensity, brought a kind of energy to the set that transformed what should have been a lighthearted story into an emotionally charged environment. The psychological war, James Woods. Rather than simply delivering his lines, James Woods turned every scene into a psychological battlefield. He didn't just recite dialogues, he analyzed them in detail, challenged the director, and even improvised changes without warning. Every rehearsal became a clash of wills. Sally, always open to collaboration and emotional honesty, ended up feeling crushed. She later described Woods as intellectually intimidating, a man who used highfalutin words and sharp phrases not to engage in dialogue, but to assert his authority. On set, he questioned the script, criticized the direction, and even made remarks about her acting in the middle of a scene, creating an atmosphere so tense it suffocated creativity. But what affected Sally the most happened off camera. Woods brazenly suggested that she wasn't giving enough, implying that she wasn't putting her heart into the work. He accused her of doing just the bare minimum during emotionally demanding days. Comments that to Sally were more than criticism. They felt like sabotage. It wasn't a push to improve. It was a way of making her doubt herself. After years of earning respect in a male-dominated industry, it felt like a bitter defeat. She would later define that experience not as an acting challenge, but as a constant emotional trap. It wasn't the role that drained me, she said. It was having to defend my worth again and again.